On the inside, the 9S Shane Stewart. Outside, the 3H Kenny Hansen taking them down the back chute. The fifth and final heat. 3 and 4, the youngster up front from Bixby, Oklahoma. The 34th National 5th heat is underway on Friday night. Stewart on the inside takes that number 1 spot. Kenny Hansen drops into second. Third is Eichert. Fourth, Lee Nelson. And right with him on the inside, 16L of Leonard Lee. Lee and Nelson doing battle now for that 4th spot. Leonard Lee down on the inside, and that black 16L takes the number 4 spot. Nelson a little trouble on the high side. Running third now, that 15 in is Chris Eichert. Leonard Lee looking at him. Eichert up on the high side. Leonard Lee working the bottom good through 1 and 2. Now 3 and 4. He moves into third. Now he's looking at Kenny Hansen for the number 2 spot. Leonard Lee, one of the regulars here at Knoxville, running in the number 3 spot. Kenny Hansen running second at 3H. The youngster out of Oklahoma, Shane Stewart, walking away from him as he's going into turn 3. But it's Hansen and Leonard Lee running for the number 2 spot. Leonard Lee goes to the inside. Slips up top in 3 and 4. Leonard Lee trying. Oh, they get together coming out of 4. Everybody keeps running. Lee now goes to the inside in 1 and 2. Kenny Hansen running third. Eichert is fourth. Hansen staying with Leonard Lee in that 16L. But Leonard Lee now having second. Lee Nelson at 26 has been running fifth, having some trouble. Over in 2, gathers it back up, but loses a lot of ground and positions. Lee Nelson now through the bottom side of turn 4 with Bob Thompson in the 48. The back runners there in this 5th heat event. We're still green. Here comes your second place with a full straightaway behind your leader, Shane Stewart, in that red 9S. There's third place, the 15 in of Chris Eichert. Lee Nelson back into the pit area. Out of turn 4, second place runner in the 16L, Leonard Lee. As he's now about a half a lap behind your leader, Shane Stewart, running in the number 3 spot, the 15 in of Chris Eichert. Running fourth, the 3H, Kenny Hansen. Eichert staying with Leonard Lee, but on the white flag, he only has 1 more lap to try and make up the distance. Here comes your leader. He's already in 3 and 4. The youngster from Bixby, Oklahoma, Shane Stewart, winning the 5th and final heat on Friday night. Down the back chute, your front row, Rich Buback, the 9, the 92J, JR Topper. An 8 laps, C feature, 2 to tag the tail of the B main tonight. As they head through 3 and 4, Doug Clark keeping an eye on them. We get the white line shortly thereafter. We're green, we're going green. JR Topper on the high side, that 92J, the number 1 spot. Here comes Buback on the inside in that white number 9, working the bottom side. Topper, a little better run off the cushion, is your leader down the back chute. Buback is second. A good race on back there for fourth with Jennings, Manny Rockhold in that 71X on the bottom side. Your leader, though, is J.R. Topper out of St. Joe, Missouri in that 92J. Golden, Colorado is Rich Buback running second in the white number 9. And Jennings, trouble out of turn 2, gets crossed up, collects long in that 29L. They both keep a running but lose a lot of ground as Jennings is up there battling for the 4th spot. Down and out of turn 4. Jennings and Long still running on the back chute. Your leader, J.R. Topper, into turn 3 in that 92J. Rich Buback staying right with him, but unable to get close enough to make a good run for that number 1 spot. As right now, them two looking to transfer to the B main. Topper still running the high side. Buback out of Golden, Colorado, working the bottom through 1 and 2. He drops to the bottom, gets a good hard run at Topper in 3 and 4. JR up to the challenge. Here comes Buback. A little squirrely out of 4, but gathers it up, takes over the number 1 spot from Topper. Topper still running up on the cushion. Buback, a good job down on the bottom side. Running in that number 3 spot. Mike Chad, that's 61A. Manny Rockhold, that black 71X. works the high side. Is first and third running the bottom side, second and fourth electing to go up top. If you want to make up some ground, you've got to go where the other car isn't. Rockhold looks up to the top side as Chad moves up on the high side through the backstretch, drops back to bottom in 3 and 4. Here comes Rockhold on the high side, that black 71X. Looks to the high side, trying to get Mike Chad. Chad down on the bottom, and Rockhold off the cushion, down the back chute, takes over that number 3 spot. Jennings, that 61J, hits the front chute wall, gathers it back up as he's having a little trouble tonight with handling. There's your leader through 1 and 2 on the bottom side to 9, Rich Buback out of Golden, Colorado. Coming for the checkered as he comes out of 4, Golden, Colorado's Rich Buback in that green and white number 9.
Your B feature in the non-qualifiers is green. Down in front, your Todd Tagus at 7A. Troy Parson at 57C, but he's getting a run now from Van Gurley in that 3BB. Van Gurley moves into the number 2 spot in that DuPont sponsored sprinter. Troy Parsons, that Altoona Auto Body, 57C, running third. Running fourth in that 9M. Rick Montgomery out of Colorado, running fourth at 21S. Rod George out of Katanning, Pennsylvania, that Xana Vending sponsored sprinter. But up front, that Middletown Tool and Die 7A Todd Tagers, running second in the Kindle Oil 3BB Van Gurley Jr. Running third in that Cox Fabrication 57C Troy Parsons. Your race for that number 4 spot right now. Rod George and Rick Montgomery. They're side by side into that first turn. George and Montgomery, the 21S and the 9M. Montgomery a little squirrely coming out of 2. He drops back to 5th. It's still Tagers up front out of that 4th turn. Van Gurley getting a little crossed up as he comes out of 4 down the front chute, but he's still running a very close second. Running third and with a little breathing room is Troy Parsons. It's a race for the lead down by the flag stand. Van Gurley on the inside takes over the number 1 spot. The 26 in, Lee Nelson comes to stop on the back chute inside that 2nd turn. So the race up front, Van Gurley just making a move, but then we revert back to the last completed lap. Enjoying the show tonight with us. Chili Bowl coming up the 1st of January. You got to be there. Norm Wiley, watch him coming around anywhere green once again. Todd Tagers at 7A. Van Gurley Jr. in that 3BB into that 1st turn. Troy Parsons in that 57C. Now he's getting a good run. Rod George running at him, but Parsons up the challenge. On the inside, up top in the 2nd spot, Van Gurley Jr. Somebody smoking coming down the front chute and stops there. That's it. 51E, Dave Eckern out of Flanders, South Dakota, coming to a smoky stop on the inside of turn 4. Yellow lights off, looking for the restart. 6 down, 6 to go. B features underway once again. 7A and the 3BB. Van Gurley Jr. goes up top of Todd Taggers. Taggers had the challenge on the bottom side so far. Out of turn 2, he's still got the lead, but unable to get by. And there comes Van Gurley on the high side to California. Working on the Iowan on the high side. Van Gurley goes into the lead down the front chute off that fourth turn. Rick Montgomery into the pits. Van Gurley. And that Kendall Oil 3BB is your leader, Todd Taggers. And that Ideal Concrete 7A running second. Troy Parsons now getting a challenge from Rod George. George on the high side, working to Parsons. Parsons slides up, gives George room. George takes advantage, goes into third. Here comes Parsons working on the inside now. Parsons and that Bad Bruce 57C on the yellow flag. We got a yellow for a stalled one back on turn 2. Bobby Thompson in that 48 car. We're back green one more time. Your B main, Van Gurley Jr., that 3BB, the DuPont sponsored sprinter. Out of Pennsylvania, goes the bottom. Here comes Troy Parsons. He taps Gurley, then goes to high side as Gurley's off the throttle. So that puts Troy Parsons into that number 2 spot. He's getting a strong challenge now from Butch Hansen in that Holiday Inn number 8. Tony Edmondson, the 2E, heads to the pits, as well as Van Gurley. Rod George out of Cantanning, Pennsylvania, and the 21S is in the number 1 spot. Running second, the 57C out of Des Moines, Iowa, Troy Parsons. White flag one more time to see who's going to the A main. It's Rod George, Troy Parsons looking to transfer. Butch Hansen, Blake Robertson running third and fourth. Checkered flag flying, Cantanning, Pennsylvania's Rod George. Have worked hard. They haven't been very fortunate, a lot of them. They've done a lot of hard work the last 3 days and nights. Some of them's put in some long hours. 20 laps the distance. Front 10 will complete the C main tomorrow night. Then we'll take the on down into the D and the E. Norm Wadley watching them as we come around. Craig Delansky, Eric Rossi up front, we're green. Our non-qualifiers, A main, a scramble for the number 2 spot. We got Craig Delansky, the number 1 spot. He's getting a challenge now. Matt Kelly and Associates, ATW. Craig Heidemann, here comes Delansky back on the inside. Delansky and that Kenco 1K Storm Steel sponsor. But the Kelly and Associates, ATW, Craig Heidemann goes back in the lead into turn 1. Running in that number 3 spot in that J&J chassis sponsored 2L, Ed Lynch Jr. Running 4th in that JB Enterprise 98X, Eric Rossi. Only 2 of them are going to go to the A main, right? And here comes Ed Lynch Jr. looking at Delansky on the inside, turn 1 and 2. It's Ed Lynch Jr. with the advantage down the back chute. Jr. takes the number 2 spot from Delansky. That's Ed Lynch Jr., your leader. Now Bayless Auto